little wave at your stars within, and today I have special guest Alan Rigoletto with me, and he's here to talk about astrology and tarot. So Alan, I wanted to make this video because I am not as comfortable with tarot as I am with astrology, but I know that there's a lot of overlap and correlation between them. So I guess I just want to start with asking you how did you find your way into tarot, and sort of how do you use it? How do you understand it in your life?
Well, my first tarot reading I got in New Orleans, and I kind of sat with that for a couple months, and then I picked up a deck, maybe 4 or 5 months after that, and it just became part of my daily life, and it was something that just brought a lot of clarity into what I was interacting with day in and day out, and it gave me a really good understanding of certain things that were happening in my life that just, for the rest of my life before that, I really wasn't able to interpret in a way that made sense to me.
Huh. So when you say it gave you insight into sort of what you're interacting with on a daily basis, could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that? Because I think about sort of the stars and maybe some of the faster moving planets we're interacting with the moon more daily, Venus and Mars move a little bit faster, so we do interact with those on a daily or weekly sort of basis.
Yeah. Where there's these energies that just come and go, and they're present in our lives, but we get to know them, and then they fade, and then they come back. And sometimes there are these energies, they could be difficult energies, like a depression or anxiety, or a happy energy, like a feeling of love or just overwhelming peace and satisfaction. And when they happen, we feel like it's just like that is what's happening forever, but then they go away and come back. And pulling daily cards, doing readings, just interacting with the cards and really studying them, seeing how they show up in your life, it really helps you understand where these energies are coming up within you, what energies are present during the day, and what you're seeing in other people as well, learning how that relationship happens between you, your higher self, and then the other people that you see day in and day out, and their higher self.
So when you talk about the different energies like an anxiety or depression or feeling full of love, would you relate those feelings to very specific cards? Like this card is sort of what tends to show up when I'm in a depression or an anxiety or having a lot of love and friendship in my life?
Yeah. It's funny because with some of the cards that some people consider to be like the bad cards, like the harsher energies you have to deal with. Like Tower, Nine of Swords, Death, Devil. Yeah. Those have become kind of like a hug, a comfort for me, because they just acknowledge the fact that this energy is present, and it's not just you and your crazy self. You're not just, this loner who's experiencing this energy that no one's ever experienced before. It's like, this is something that every single person goes through, and you're experiencing this right now. There is a sense of motion in these cards. You have the number system that's with the major and minor arcana, and it just helps you to feel, I'm in this right now, but there's a progression, there's an ebb and flow. It's not just, this is how it is, and this is how it will stay forever.
Right, so it's really interesting that you talk about those cards being a comfort. It sounds like it's almost more validating of the energy that's present right now, not, oh no, what's going to happen in my future and I need to be afraid. Because I think that's what drives a lot of fear. You pull the Death card, you pull Tower, and you think some new thing is going to occur. Right. Similarly, when people can say, oh, it looks like my Saturn return is upcoming, or my, Uranus opposition, and we get scared, and it's like, you're already feeling the first whiffs of it. There's nothing to be afraid of. You already kind of have a sense of what it's about. And then the numbers, it sounds much like numerology, like sort of that progression through the path of, from 1 being the beginnings of something to
Yeah.
the two, and just on through the journey that isn't always the journey, right? Of anything that we take goes from a 1 to a 9, essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And we get into full fruition, and then we really come to completion.
Yeah.
And it's time for a new journey, and we will repeat this numerical sort of path in every part of our life throughout our life.
Yeah. And starting to really pay attention to that, and pay attention to the sense of completion, and understanding that it moves in a cycle. It moves back to the one it is. It helps to let there be a natural release. It's so easy to cling to that feeling of completion, or maybe the feeling in the beginning where you're just feeling that pure energy, and it helps you to understand that's something you're moving through.
Yeah, I can think of many times where I've gone from, say, an ace to a 4 in a period of time, and there has been this recognition initially of like, go and do and create, and I'm putting all this hard work in, and you almost get so used to doing that, it's as if you're going to do that forever.
Yeah.
And then the cards start giving me the 4s,
Yeah.
and it's like, stop,
Yeah.
rest, re-energize for the next leg of the journey. And I almost have to remember that rest is a part of the journey, because I've gotten so used to the ace to the 3
Yeah.
energy of something. So
Yeah.
at least for me, I find the 4 is like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
be present, and that's still part of the journey before we jump back into the 5,
Right.
which tends to be a little more chaotic in the
Right,
beginning
yeah.
of the next leg. So that's really interesting to me. And now I know we kind of had talked a little bit about we have the Dream Keepers Tarot with us today. Alan brought my favorite deck of his that I really enjoy, and I just love the imagery on these. And I know we talked about some of the cards being related to the astrological signs, and we had identified Strength, which in this deck is very beautiful and has this woman with a snake around her, but in like a more traditional deck tends to have I know a lion is
Yeah.
usually present.
So
who's
a
indigo.
woman dressed in a flowing white gown, garland around her head, the infinity sign above her head, and she's comforting this lion.
What's the infinity sign? So Strength is Leo. Let's say that up
Yeah.
front, just so for those following. And of course, we're going to talk about Strength in Leo because I'm a Leo, and it's the most Leo thing I could do.
Yeah,
I just want to
yeah.
talk about my own sign.
Yeah.
I'm sure all the other Leos completely understand. So, in the traditional, which I know is not this, so I just love this imagery. Can you tell me? I don't think I ever paid much attention to the infinity sign above her, though I can picture it now that you say that. What's the significance of that?
Well, just to riff on that, it shows up in I might be getting this wrong, but in 2 other places in the Smith Rider-Waite Tarot, in the Magician and in the 2 of Pentacles.
Okay.
So it's significant that it shows up in just these 3 cards, and if there's a 4th card, I'm just forgetting it right now.
Yeah.
But as far as what's coming to mind right now is there's this sense of completion. There is this all-encompassing element of our kinder, gentler, more inquisitive selves being able to look within to the more powerful, the raging lion, and being able to not shoo it off, fight it or anything like that, but being able to tame it, and being able to show the lion what it needs to feel calm and to feel at peace. And
So is this like a taming the beast?
it is a taming the beast, but even saying beast, I feel in the sense of strength is a harsh word, because the beast is just our inner the chaos within, the parts of us that are more difficult for us to deal with. But the things that are more difficult to deal with are the things that we really need to spend time with. These are the things that need to be cherished and loved and treasured. And it, especially in modern society, has become so much about we need to shy away from those difficult things. if you're feeling a difficult emotion or any sort of heaviness, you need to stay away from it. You need to distract. You need to cover up. And the Strength card is saying you need to dive in and give that part of yourself some real tender attention and care.
I really like that. That really speaks to the counselor within me, of sitting with people and creating the space to just sit with these pieces that are difficult sometimes to sit with alone, or that others, I can think of, for example, grief. Grief is something that when people go through it, they tend to need a lot of support. And often those around us will back away. Oh, gee, I don't want to mention the person that you lost. I don't want to upset you. And they tend to just either kind of stay very on the surface or stay away for a while. And I don't think that it's done out of a desire to avoid the person. It's just this discomfort.
Right.
And often we need to sort of walk towards that discomfort. And it's so much less scary than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And asking that friend who's in grief, how are you doing since the loss? How are you honoring your loved one? How can I honor your loved one? And it's just this relief. Oh, it's okay to talk to you about this. I don't have to put on a show and be okay.
Right, yeah.
That's what it feels to me. The counselor in me says, yes, I understand that. I'm going towards and comforting that part.
And when I first started to understand the Strength card, it was when I was only, I don't think I had even had a deck for a month. Wow. And I was going through a lot of grief, and I would have these really heavy days, and I pulled the Strength card. That was when I first started to understand the power of tarot in general, because you think it's like, okay, I'm going through this heavy day, I'm going to pull something like Ten of Swords, like this really harsh card, and I'd pull Strength. And every time I was feeling this energy, I'd pull Strength. And I realized, like, the days when I wasn't choosing to stay away from what of the hardest things that I was dealing with at that time, that was showing true strength. That was the caring side of me, showing up to that lion of grief and just saying, hey, let's spend time together, and I'm okay dealing with what comes up. I understand it needs to pass. It needs to come through.
So then I think about the other side of Leo, and Leo is the sun and is the fifth house. It correlates. And so I think about the playful, paternal side of Leo. The childlikeness, the male lion that stays back and plays with the cubs. The fifth house being joy and playfulness, activities.
Yeah.
It can also be children. It can also be dating, but not in the seventh house of partnership or eighth house of sort of deep, intense relationships. It's the more lighthearted playfulness.
Yes.
How does that playfulness fit into the Strength card?
Well,
Or does it? Maybe it doesn't.
no, I think it really does, and that's something that I'm learning about even now, that when you're experiencing the harshness of like that untamed lion, to look it in the face and be like, I'm willing to deal with this energy, but also to pick yourself up and be like, hey, I'm gonna have fun still. I'm not going to let my life be controlled by the fact that I'm dealing with this heaviness.
Right. So it's like remembering to dance and to play and to movement, right? Like movement of the body is so important to moving energy, out. And I find that when I'm having difficult feelings, that just sort of like walking around my house and putting on music and sort of dancing and playing and moving really helps shift that into a different space for me.
That's strength. That's very much strength.
Lovely. So then I guess if we were to talk about another card, I had pulled a few here out. I don't know which one you would want to talk about. I've got Justice, which I know relates to Libra, and I'll just show the cards and there's Hierophant, who I know is Taurus, and I know that you house a lot of Taurus energy in your chart.
Sure
Maybe
do.
that would be, see, Leo, when she's done talking about Leo, then is happy to shine the light on others. And that's a very Leo-like thing. And then the other one that I just pulled out was Hanged Woman, and the only reason I really pulled this one out is I had about this card has followed me throughout my life, but in the last year has been particularly significant. I did paint a hanged man as part of my process this year. And then I love the imagery of this card in this deck, and also that it's hanged woman. And usually it's hanged man, and since I am often pulling the card, the feminist in me appreciates that.
Yes, of course.
So I don't know if you'd like to touch on any of these cards, but these are the ones that sort of spoke to me.
Oh boy.
I know.
I guess since we're talking about signs that we have as individuals, I guess we could talk about here.
Yeah, let's talk about the Taurus energy.
Since I'm Taurus Moon and Taurus Rising, and I have to thank Elite for
knowing that.
for helping me to understand that and to come to terms with what that means. Whenever I talk about heavy energy, it's where it's kind of coming from.
That earthiness, right? Earth is stable, but it takes a long time for things to pass through Earth. So Virgo seems to not hold that Earth energy quite as much because it has that Mercury aspect. It shares Mercury with Gemini, and Gemini is very light, and Mercury is a little lighter.
Yeah.
But the Taurus and the Capricorn side of Earth seems to be much heavier.
Right.
But also grounding and stable and able to create and to make something real, not just ideas in the sky, but real things manifest. And so when I think about Earth, I do think about the slowness of energy moving through it and the heaviness, but then I also think about the concreteness and the stability, the foundation to build upon. So can you talk to me a little bit just like the Hierophant card? Even that word is not a super familiar word in the English language unless you're doing tarot, at least for me. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about the card.
So the Hierophant is something that dealing with very old systems of religion. A Hierophant is someone who is able to get these downloads from however you want to talk about from source. The ones that are able to write the texts of the Bible, the Quran, the ones that are able to see into the divine and actually translate it into something that humans can digest.
So sort of like the priest or the correlate of that in rabbi, but more truly like not just because they are that as a profession, but more like spiritually speaking, they're able to tap in and pull that through.
And there can be a lot of ego involved in that too, because you can just say, hey, I'm the one who's getting the stuff from above.
Right, I must be special.
Right. So the thing is, we all have this capability to whatever extent suits us. And that is an acknowledgement of that. And it takes a lot of looking into ourselves and understanding ourselves to really come to terms with what this card has to offer. Because what we're also dealing with in this card is the societal influence, the religion influence, the upbringing, schooling, how we were brought up, the things that are really deep inside of us, because when we were growing up, they were the things that just they didn't seem like beliefs, they just felt like this is how the world is.
So like being brought up in maybe a very strict and religious home would be the experience of a Hierophant energy growing up would kind of characterize that person's life strongly.
Right, this is what the card, a Hierophant card is like dealing with. And so there are two sides of this. There is what you're experiencing growing up, becoming part of the world, and what is around you immediately and affecting how you see the world. And then coming into life and starting to figure things out for yourself, maybe having your own spiritual discoveries, and starting to see how this compares and contrasts to how you've been raised. And it can create a lot of discord, because what you might find out might be completely drastically different from what you've been experiencing and what you've been immersed in your entire life. So when you're dealing with Hierophant energy, it's a time of really deeply looking in having spiritual experiences, and then having to deal with the fact that what you're experiencing within yourself might not be what you might have been holding as a belief or as a reality for your entire life.
It's interesting because Taurus is a fixed sign. It's the earth sign that is fixed.
Yeah.
And so that rigidity of sort of the law of the rules of the expectations, that sort of thing. I feel that in Taurus, that can be pretty stubborn. It's the bull.
Yeah.
It can be very entrenched. When I think about, I don't pull Hierophant a whole lot in my life. And I know that we've talked at times when I have, and I feel like what I've come to understand about it through our discussions is like sometimes if I pull it, sometimes I'm maybe experiencing outside of me, I'm up against a system or an authority.
Right, yeah.
Or maybe other times something is happening that's coming up against my own sort of rules or what I've written or accepted that maybe needs to be looked at. Is that too rigid?
Right.
Is that accurate? Am I understanding
Well,
it?
yeah, you're kind of saying what I'm dealing with right now. Am I making decisions that are based on my higher self, or is it based on how I used to function? And it's looking at it with an open mind, because maybe what you're trying to bring in from your higher self might just be so far-fetched or not fully formed yet that it might need some of that structure from how you have been seeing things your whole life to help out. So it's not saying we need to push all of that away. It's finding that middle ground in between the two.
What it's reminding me of is sort of, I've interfaced with this with the younger generation that, especially in our culture here, has maybe been brought up in some form of Christianity. But as the younger generation, they're not exactly seeming to accept the rules of the book and to go into church. But I'm hearing the word sort of Christ consciousness, good consciousness.
Right.
So it's sort of like still taking from those structured things that maybe they grew up with or were exposed to, but then with that higher self, seeing it in a little bit more abstract or global, overarching way.
Right. Using the more abstract spiritual tools to look within and to see how things are from that light.
Yeah.
And then coming back to the structure, if you are within a structured religion, you're going within, you're dealing with the metaphysical as opposed to the more structured elements. And you're maybe doing it within the comfort of the structure. So it allows you that when you go to some far out place and you find something within yourself, that you come back and you're able to settle into that. And it can help you to find your own voice within that structure. Because you might say, okay, maybe this is a belief system, or this is something that I've been holding in my own beliefs that might need some treatment. It allows you to have an open mind in a sense that you might not have had in the past.
It's all so interesting, and it definitely correlates to how I think about, the Taurus energy. Because, Taurus is a fixed sign, and it's an earth sign, and it's the second house, which tends to be materials and sort of money, our material goods, our resources, but also value. And I think I talked about this when I did the second house video. And one of the most overlooked aspects of the second house is that it has to do with self-value, which is not a material part. And I think that Taurus is ruled by Venus. So there is this sort of softer side of Taurus, but still the ground manifesting energy. So that all resonates with me. Alan, this is so fascinating, and I'm really enjoying learning about the cards through you, and I would definitely look forward to future videos where maybe you talk a little bit more about some of these. I guess we can link at the bottom, or I guess in the comments, we'll put some links of how people can reach you if they are interested in maybe a reading or teaching.
I'm available for private readings, or if you want to just learn more, you can always do a lesson.
Yeah. how, I sometimes do astrology parties where I'll get 3, 4, 5 people and kind of do a shorter little thing. It's fun. Maybe there's a bottle of wine and some snacks and it's sort of a fun. Do you do stuff like that with the tarot as well?
Yeah, that would be fun. It's not something I've done before, but this is something, bringing it out into the world is a new thing for me, and frankly, tarot is a new thing for just using this system. So it's something that's just kind of exploded in my life.
Yeah.
Like it's just bringing it out into the world and starting to talk to other people about it and hosting readings for the collective about it has just become just something that just.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful and really fulfilling. So to bring it to a group, that's something that I would definitely be down with doing. Contact lists over Zoom, or once this life gets back in order, having actual parties.
Yeah. Well, I feel that you are most definitely bringing tarot from past life because my experience of readings with you has just been the most profound. Accuracy and depth and just understanding that I truly trust, as I call you. Can you pull cards for me, please? Because I just trust your cards. I just trust you with these. So thank you so much for being you and for bringing this energy into the world and for sharing it with all of us.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope that, I can't really speak highly enough about Alan and the tarot cards, so I hope that you will go and reach out to him and hopefully we'll do another one of these and talk about some other cards.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
All right.
Take care.
Namaste.